Yes, you'll notice I'm wearing the same outfit I was wearing in my last video. I'm making this video again right after I made that last one because I had some extra time and I figured why not just start talking about fall recommendations. Before I go into the books that I have been reading, I want to do my fall recommendations first because September is fall to me. I don't care what anybody says. I live in New England. September, as soon as September fall starts, that means it's fall. It's still going to be 90 degrees sometimes. Hopefully not 80 probably though, off and on. But the leaves are starting to change. This is fall to me. And so I think it's important to start reading fall things now, especially here because winter comes on so quickly and fall is my favorite season and I feel like I have to savor every moment of it. And in order to do that, you have to just start doing your fall stuff as soon as humanly possible. So I actually started my first couple of fall reads in August. Let's see. I don't want you to see the books that I have been reading. Okay, no. The ones, my recommendations are here. Okay, so I did start reading some fall books in August because actually it's kind of sad, but we're in a drought right now, and so everything is turning brown and orange already and has been for a couple of weeks, and it's because nature is under so much stress, but it looks like fall, and so I have been trying to look at it in a positive way and just be like, you know what, fall started early. Thankfully, it's raining today for the first time in like 2 months. I'm really glad. But it has just looked like fall for a while. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to get a head start. And I started reading my fall stuff. But that's for the future. So right now, I wanted to give you some of my fall recommendations for the spooky season, because that's what this is all about, right? Like that creepy, eerie, like gothic sort of feeling. Which brings me to my first recommendation, which is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is an older book. Let's see. 1959? It's not as old as I thought. Maybe it's older than that. I don't know. So, this is a really good atmospheric book. It's very creepy. You're not going to get any sort of like crazy gore or, you know, insane happenings. It's a very much like thriller-y in the sense where it's like, it's atmospheric. They're in this house. You don't really know what's going on. It's almost like the house is a character. It's really good, and I recommend it. I feel like a lot of people have probably heard of this. It's basically this group of people arrive at this house to figure out what is going on here. And that's it. That's really the whole premise. And so it goes in really interesting directions. It's very creepy and definitely one I really enjoyed a lot more than I thought I would. So 100% recommend Haunting at Hill House. Okay, my next one is a book that was described to me as being like tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, it's like a horror book, but it's sort of like funny or sarcastic. It's like making fun of horror books. But when I read it, I wasn't really sure that was the case. I didn't really get a big sarcastic vibe from it. You'll see when I show it to you that it sort of has this nostalgic sort of haha 80s horror vibe to it. But when I read it, I was like, this is genuinely just like a good horror story. It's a quick read. My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I have read a few Grady Hendrix now. I also really want to recommend the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, because they're both really good in the sense that it's entertaining, it's engaging, they're fairly quick reads, but really good and very spooky, and it's not too over the top. It feels grounded. It feels like I don't know, like watching a horror movie that's based in real life, nothing is too like insanely out there, like, oh, I can't imagine this ever happening. I mean, like, in the sense that there's vampires, there's an exorcism, but it is just really good, and I didn't find a whole lot of humor in it. I just thought it was a great horror story, and I don't know, I recommend it. It's a great fall read, and you should check it out. If you've never read anything by Grady Hendrix, I would say go look at the list of all of their books and pick one that you think sounds good to you and just give it a shot, because I guarantee you'll like one of them, if not all of them. I tend to enjoy all of them, but that might just be me. I don't know, but definitely worth a shot to try out. Okay, so as I have said before, am a huge fan of anything fantasy or medieval. And I think this book actually might have been on one of my lists in like my first video about my favorite books or best book I read that year or something like that. And that is Between Two Fires. This book, I got this physical copy and tried to start it a couple of times, but the first couple pages were like so grim and kind of like disturbing in a way that I was like, I don't know if this is for me, and I kind of bounced off of it. And then I think I got some deal from Chirp. If you've never heard of Chirp, I love Chirp. It's an audiobook app that you can get where you just buy audiobooks, but they do really good deals. So I've bought so many books for like $1.99, $2, $3, whatever. So I think I was working a job at the time where I listened to audiobooks or podcasts literally all day long. And so I always needed stuff, and I had this book and I tried to read it and just bounced off of it. But I was like, I feel like from the description, it's a brutal knight offered one final chance at salvation. A troubled priest, last survivor of his parish, drowning himself in wine and guilt. A young girl orphaned by the Black Death, observing the commands of angels, both terrible and beautiful. And they go on a journey together. And from that description, I was like, I should like this book. I don't know why I can't get into it. So I got it on audiobook, I think for like $2, and listened to it, and I was just blown away. Like, this book is crazy, and it's really good, and it definitely has a lot of religious overtone, which is a thing I find absolutely fascinating. I'm not a religious person, but I find anything religion totally fascinating, and there's definitely a lot of this in here. It is not in any way the story of Joan of Arc, but it does have Joan of Arc vibes. So like that sort of medieval religious overtone. So if that sounds, it is definitely horror also. It's not terrifying. It's not something that was going to keep me up at night, but there are, disturbing things that happen, and it's, intense and brutal. So if that sounds interesting to you, 100% recommend this. I actually picked up recently The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman as well, because I loved this book so much. I have not read it yet, but I've heard really good things. I just think his writing is really unique and really, really great. So definitely worth a shot this fall. Good fall vibes, creepy medieval horror, if you have not read it. Okay, so next I'm going to do these ones as a group because they're all sort of classics. Dracula, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and then Frankenstein. I don't think I have to say too much about these books. I feel like these are classics. We all know what Dracula is about. It is good. It is an older book, so it definitely reads in that older, more gothic, slow build sort of style. Definitely creepy. Definitely worth a read if you've never read it. Same with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's a very, very short book. Try it out. If you hate it, it'll take you a day to read. So, whatever. But I definitely think they're both worth reading. Frankenstein, I wanted to go, into a little bit more in depth because it's really, really good in ways that I feel like you wouldn't expect. We all know, Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein and his monster. That's what it is. But this book goes really deep into like the human psyche, and it's very emotional and metaphoric, and I've read it twice, actually. I read it for college twice, I think. I transferred schools, so I think that's why. I don't really remember exactly why, but it is really intense and like beautiful and tragic, and it's not just your standard like monster story at all. And I know people have talked about how great Frankenstein is, but like these books, classic, awesome, great. I know it doesn't sound like that by my tone, but they really are. They're really good. But Frankenstein goes in places that these ones do not, in my opinion. And if you are looking for something that's... Hi, Bibi. My cat is talking to me. If you are looking for something that is atmospheric and really just like beautiful and intense, you should definitely give Frankenstein a try, because when I read it originally, I did not think that it was something that I was going to like at all. I was not looking forward to it, and then I read it and was just blown away. And honestly, might read it again soon, because it's been a while since I was in college, and I think it's worth another read. I could read it again. So if you've never read Frankenstein, I would say do it this fall, and you will not regret it. 100%. Okay, so I did have another book that I don't own a physical copy of, but I wanted to recommend it. It's called Little Darlings. Let's see. I know who the author is. I'll tell you in just a second. Melanie Golding. Little Darlings. So I got this book on audio. What are you doing? Yeah. I got this as an audiobook and was very surprised by how much I liked it. It's basically about this woman who has twins, I believe. She has babies. And I'm not a huge fan of, like, books about new mothers or, like, babies or, like, mothers taking care of babies. I'm not a very maternal person, if you can't tell. But I'm not really drawn toward that sort of book. But it was like a thriller, and I got it very cheaply for an audiobook, and so I was like, yeah, worth a shot. And I was actually like really, really enjoyed it. So this woman has twins, and basically some things start happening that leans toward like fairy or like supernatural, fae sort of vibes, and the whole thing is sort of dreamlike in a way, where it's like, it's terrifying, but you're not sure what is happening and what's not happening. And I think the ending is really good. I don't want to tell you what it is, but I think for a book like this, the ending is as perfect as it can be. And I don't necessarily always agree with people and whether or not they think the ending of a book is good. So take that for what it is with a grain of salt. But I think the way this book is written, the vibe that it gives, that uncertainty, the way that it ends, just wraps it up so perfectly. That's really what did it for me, like, and made it a book that I want to recommend, is the way that it all ties together. And it's very creepy. If you like anything like creepy fae or, myth or like folklore, legend, that sort of thing, this is set in a modern time, but it's very creepy and has that folklore feeling. So I want to recommend that one as well. If I can, I'll put a picture of the book here. I don't know what editing software I'm going to use, so I might not even know how to do that, but I'm going to try. So hopefully you'll see a picture here. If not, I'll just mention it again in the comment or in the description of the video. So definitely check that one out. I did enjoy it as an audiobook, so I can vouch for it being entertaining that way as well. Sometimes I don't like audiobooks because of the way it's narrated. Like if the person narrating is too what is the word? Monotone. I figured it out. I got there. If the person narrating is too monotone, I zone out, like, immediately. So I can guarantee you that this book is not like that. It's well narrated. But I'm sure a physical copy would be great as well. I prefer reading books physically. So in my opinion, it'd probably be better that way, because then, you know, your own narration is just better, I think. But it's still good that way. So, you know, definitely check it out. Okay. So then, for now, the last thing on my fall recommended list, there might be more. I will probably recommend some of the books that I have been reading. I definitely will, at least one or two of them. But for this video, the last things I'm going to recommend are The Fellowship of the Ring and The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. I have read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings several times, probably 3 times each. To be fair, I've only read Lord of the Rings once. The other times were audiobook, but I still count that, like, you know. Fellowship is my favorite of the 3. It's the humble beginnings, the introduction, you know, time in the Shire, and you know, getting the hobbits together, and just the Council of Elrond. It's so fall and cozy. This is as cozy as I want books to be, essentially. I like the idea of having those fall aspects, like the birthday party is in September, the birthday party, and, you know, big feasts and taverns and cooling weather and leaves and that sort of aspect, but then you have those dark overtones as well. So Fellowship is the best one, in my opinion. It feels very fall to me, and I would definitely recommend reading it if you haven't. I know it's a very standard recommendation on everybody's fantasy list. Lord of the Rings is always there somewhere. But if you haven't read it, give it a shot for sure. The audiobook is really good as well. If you'd rather listen to it, it's a great time either way. But if you don't want to read one in a series, if you don't, you know, if you're not intending to read the whole series, you don't want to start it, whatever the reason may be, then read The Hobbit if you haven't read The Hobbit. I feel like everyone should read The Hobbit at some point in their lives. It's really good. It's not as intense as Lord of the Rings. I would say it's more of a cozy feel, in the sense that it's more about just the journey of a hobbit. And there's dragons and dwarves, and it's very sort of classic fantasy. I mean, obviously, Tolkien, right? We're talking about classic fantasy. But The Hobbit is an easier read. It goes a lot faster. It's shorter. It's, you know, a standalone, and it's a great fall atmosphere. And I mean, any time of year, if you have not read The Hobbit, you should read The Hobbit. And I know that's been said in every video, but it's really true. It's really, really true. So, I mean, this is a book that I consider rereading all the time, especially in the fall. To be totally honest, I'm not much of a rereader because, as I said in my last video, I am a slow reader. I like to meditate on things and really analyze things and take that time with every book that I read. If I'm not doing that, I feel like it's not worth it. If I have a hard time, if I feel like I'm slogging through a book, I just don't read it. I don't try to read it faster. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm not really enjoying it. So, I don't really reread books because I feel like once I've read it, I want to spend that time reading a new book and finding new things that I really enjoy. That being said, I have reread these like 3 times, so it's worth it, and I might read it again. Same with Frankenstein. So, 100%, if you haven't read it, read it. So, that's my list for now. Sort of a brief overview, obviously. I don't want to go into too much depth about anything, because I feel like if you like creepy, gothic, or medieval horror, you'll like one of these books. So check that out, and I will be making another video talking about the books that I myself have personally been reading this fall so far, and the books that I plan to read soon in the future. I have a ton. I don't know if you can see, this whole thing behind me is part of my TBR. I'm not going to overpromise. I feel like my first couple of videos, I was like, here's my TBR, and it was like every unread book that I owned. And like I just said, I'm a slow reader, so like I cannot promise you that if I give you a 40-book TBR, that I'm going to read necessarily any one of those in the near future. So I'm going to stop over-promising in that way, and I'm going to pick out a few books that I am certain that I'm going to read, and just talk about that, and then we'll go from there, and I'll give you reviews and stuff like that, and I'll make smaller TBR videos in the future, and just like more often, and I think that'll be fun, and maybe you can read some along with me, or maybe not. I don't care. As long as you're getting enjoyment out of this, and you know it's benefiting you in some way, I'm happy to do it, and I really hope that some of my recommendations can become a new favorite, and that would be amazing to me. I know I've found some new favorites from watching YouTube videos, so you know, maybe that's a thing. But that's it for now, and I'll be coming out with my what I've been reading video fairly soon, as well as a TBR, and I will look forward to seeing you again then. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you are as happy about my return as I am.